We will now observe Tisarana and Pansil.
පන්සිල් සමාදන් වීම සඳහා නමස්කාරය කියන්න. බුද්ධං සරණං ගච්ඡාමි ධම්මං සරණං ගච්ඡාමි සංඝං සරණං ගච්ඡාමි දුතියම්පි බුද්ධං සරණං ගච්ඡාමි දුතියම්පි ධම්මං සරණං ගච්ඡාමි දුතියම්පි සංඝං සරණං ගච්ඡාමි තතියම්පි බුද්ධං සරණං ගච්ඡාමි තතියම්පි ධම්මං සරණං ගච්ඡාමි තතියම්පි සංඝං සරණං ගච්ඡාමි පානාතිපාතා වේරමණී සික්ඛාපදං සමාදියාමි අදින්නාදානා වේරමණී සික්ඛාපදං සමාදියාමි කාමේසු මිච්ඡාචාරා වේරමණී සික්ඛාපදං සමාදියාමි මුසාවාදා වේරමණී සික්ඛාපදං සමාදියාමි සුරාමේරය මජ්ජපමා දට්ඨානා වේරමණී සික්ඛාපදං සමාදියාමි.
Our guest speaker today is Mr. Das Miregal. He's an author, a Buddhist scholar, and practitioner. And he participates in many programs on Dhamma discussions in Sri Lanka and overseas. Thank you, Mr. Miregal, for accepting our invitation and being with us here today. The topic today for discussion is the role of the Buddhist practitioner in the pandemic. It is exactly 1 year since we faced this pandemic, and the devastation it has caused is unprecedented. It has spared no one, children and adults alike. And the effect is seen not only in Sri Lanka but the world. But what do we do now? Medically, we have been told what to do. Even the vaccine is here. Then we have been told to sanitize ourselves, have social distancing, even strengthen our immune system. But the problem is the psychological aspects of the change that has happened. The loss of income, change of location, as no travel, people cannot come home. How do we handle this situation? How do we face this challenge? Does Buddhism have an answer? Let's see what Mr. Miregal has to say. And I now invite Mr. Miregal to speak to us on the role of the Buddhist practitioner in facing the pandemic.
Everyone Saranai. In discussing this subject today, I owe a bit of gratitude to the Colombo IMBA for inviting me for this discussion, and also our moderator, Mr. Ajit Dissanayake, who has been quite sort of keen about this program, and his invitation is really most welcome, and I appreciate the interest he has shown. Now, in discussing the subject, he himself mentioned that there is a change in lifestyle. The COVID-19 pandemic actually is causing a major problem throughout the world. And the majority, I would say almost all, have realized that there is a need to change. Now, one thing that is really important, which is emphasized here, that the pandemic has caused innumerable problems, and it has even caused the death of millions, I believe, in different parts of the world. So there is nothing positive about the pandemic. Everything has gone negative. But we are trying to find out today how we can make use of this situation in changing for the better, making some progress. So we should realize that there is a problem, there is a major disaster, but within that disaster, can we make some progress? That's what we are going to discuss. Now, everyone, almost every class in the society, whether employed people, whether retired people, or even self-employed people, they all have to change their lifestyle. You can see that. Now, the change in lifestyle made people to think in different ways. Some people had to think of innovation, and also we could see that many people found some some period of time that is now available to them, which they didn't have earlier. In fact, they have some people, at least a certain class of society, or at least certain people, a group of people, they have found that there is more time available. Now, time is a very precious resource that we have, extremely precious resource. So it is correct to say that some people have got more time, or maybe that some others may not have got more time, it can be less time even. But everyone has changed their routine, and then because of the routine, they have been compelled to think differently. Now, this situation really makes the Buddhist practitioner who is interested in making progress to do a self-evaluation and see that there is an opportunity to do some sort of, changing of the, I would say the momentum. He said some sort of a momentum means because we are having this human life as a very, very rare opportunity. Human life is something that is extremely rare. We have this rare opportunity of living this life, and within that rare opportunity, we have to make maximum progress. And also, within that, the opportunity that we have is not only a rare opportunity, but it's also something which compels us to realize that if we lose this opportunity, we will definitely get into further problems, and we may be going over and over again in the cycle of birth and death. So this rare opportunity that we have, we can make full use of by changing our pattern of thinking and making further progress. So today, what we are trying to see is that is there any way of making progress? We normally think that we are, even though we are fully aware of the impermanence of life, we still believe in some sort of continuity. This continuity, the belief in continuity, is a thing that has misled us. And today we realize that there is a certain threat to our life, and death or the inevitable end of life is staring in our face. You can see that earlier the belief in some sort of continuity has to change now. The end of life is more or less staring in our face. The impermanence preached by the Buddha has become more evident, and there is a need to urgently get on with practicing of the doctrine, and we can now find how we can change for the better. How we can change for the better. Now, therefore, we can see that this pandemic has given us a sort of a wake-up call to speed up or to get on with our progress of following the doctrine and making maximum out of the remaining part of the life that we are going to live. In doing that, we have enough concepts in the doctrine, uh, but we actually need not look everywhere. We need not look at the entire Tripitaka or entire Buddha doctrine or whatever. But today, for our discussion, I believe there is really the main principles in the doctrine of the Buddha. Main principles. Everyone, almost every child, almost every practitioner is fully aware of the Four Noble Truths and the Noble Eightfold Path. We are very familiar with this. Now, looking at the Noble Eightfold Path, we have what is called Samma Ditti, Samma Sankappa, which is really a part of the wisdom group. Then we have the morality group, right speech, right action, and right livelihood. Then we have the concentration group, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. Now, out of this, there is no need to discuss the subject of morality because it's something very familiar to us. Right speech, right action, and right livelihood. Let us take the concentration group because that's going to be the more relevant one where the practitioner is involved. Right effort is the effort that is needed to do the mental development. Mental development is the key. Anything that is not related to mental development will not be the practicing. The practicing is needed for the development of mind, and their effort is needed, and the right effort, and mindfulness. The right mindfulness is the need to be aware of every point of time, and if it is possible, we must continuously see that we are aware of what we are thinking and what we are doing and what we are speaking. Now, the subject of right concentration is where the mind is brought to do the actual progressive mental development after getting into a situation where you have got rid of all the hindrances, like maybe your problem of say mental alertness or doubts that you have, or maybe your mental progress, mental diversification. You can get rid of all the hindrances that And then after getting rid of all the hindrances, you are in a position to do the mental development. Now, how are we going to do this mental development? Now, the concentration that we are thinking of mental development can be done in different ways. You can sit down and perform meditation, or you can do walking meditation, or you can do all your day-to-day activities while being mindful. So, in all three situations, we are going to do this mental development, which we are now going to discuss. Now, actually, when you come to the development of the mind, we have to think of a certain, we have in the doctrine subjects like Paticca or dependent origination and the three fundamental characteristics and all. But today, we are picking up one of the main principles of the doctrine, which is really the five aggregates of clinging. Now, the personality that we are having in mind, we are believing in a personality. The personality that we are believing in, whether it is in real existence or not, is another matter, but we believe in a personality which consists of five aggregates of clinging. In Pali, it is called Pancha Upadanaskandha. Now, listeners will realize that it is not entirely possible to do the discussion in English without using some other Pali terms. And in the doctrine, so it is inevitable that some of the English terms are to be used at the same time. Some Pali terms are also needed for this discussion. So let us think of the five aggregates of clinging, which are referred to in English as feelings, perceptions, mental formations, consciousness, and the body, the form. So those are the five. In Pali, they call Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, and Vijnana. It is inevitable that the English words which are there are quite suitable for the discussion, but not all. So let us take the five aggregates. They are called aggregates because they are like, they are consisting of, it's a composite groups, five different composite groups. And they are called aggregates of clinging. The word is clinging. The five aggregates of clinging. What is this clinging? We are going to actually discuss the subject of clinging. And in Pali, you call Pancha Upadanaskandha. So, Upadana is the Pali word and the English word is clinging. And these five groups, now, are we going to carry on with the clinging that the doctrine says, or is there any way of getting rid of clinging? If we take the first aggregate, which is the form or the body, now the body of each one, each person, can be considered consisting of so many parts, so many organs in the body which are not of any value, which they are actually things that are not of any beauty or not of any something which is really foul and something which is which cannot be considered as something that is that can help us in getting attached, clinging. The clinging that is to be observed, or the clinging that we are talking about relating to the form is something that we can always realize as not not possible. Not possible means it's not really something that can be appreciated or that can be considered as something to which we can attach. The attachment that is needed for the body can always be seen as something something foul, something that will not be will not give rise to the clinging that we are talking about need not be considered at all in the case of the form. And the next part of the five aggregates, which is the feeling. Now the feelings are really you can have present feelings, you can have unpresent feelings, and you can have neutral feelings. Now this clinging of into feeling, clinging of the aggregate of clinging, the feeling is also uh, something where somebody can have a present feeling, and the present feeling should be considered as present, but there should not be any attachment, there should not be any uh, sort of greediness towards this present feeling. The present feeling can remain as a present feeling, but there should not be any attachment to the present feeling. To the now, if you see some, maybe you are having some sort of a satisfaction, some sort of maybe some maybe you are looking at some uh, picture or you are hearing something, whatever the cause is, the feeling that you have, if it is present, you should not have any attachment. If it is unpresent, similarly, you should not have any anger or hatred towards that unpresent feeling. If we can avoid present feeling causing any attachment or greed, and also if we can avoid anger and hatred towards unpleasant feelings, then we are avoiding what are called sankhara, or that is the sankhara or the mental formation. The English word is mental formation, but the Pali word is sankhara. Sankhara can be eliminated from the feelings if we don't get attached to good feelings or present feelings. Similarly, if you avoid unpleasant, avoid anger and hatred towards unpleasant feelings, you are avoiding sankhara again. Now, we have discussed two of the aggregates, that is the form, the body, and the feelings. Now, the third factor is the what is called sanya. Sanya, that is you have perception. English word is perception. Perception means you may be looking at a picture. You can see a picture which may be good, which may be a nice picture, which may be a pleasant picture. It could be something of a person. Now, you may be hearing maybe something very pleasant, maybe a song, beautiful song. Maybe you are tasting some food which is very pleasant, which is very tasty, or they are all perceptions, or in Pali you call sanya. Now these perceptions are also giving rise to clinging. That's also, sanya is also one of these aggregates of clinging, where the clinging is causing an attachment. And what we have to realize is that if supposing there is a picture, if supposing there is some sort of a music, or if there is something which is giving rise to attachment or giving rise to present feeling in food. Now, none of those perceptions should lead to attachment. Attachment is where you are giving rise to what is called sankhara again. Your attachment to the pictures that you see, or the attachment to the music or present sounds that you hear, or attachment to food, whatever the perceptions are, there is a need to prevent or realize that they are all subject to impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and impersonality, and realize that there is nothing to get attached to. If there is tasty food, you should not have any greediness or any type of clinging to such tasty food. It is tasty, all right. You have a pleasant feeling, but there is nothing to be clinging about. Similarly, if you hear some pleasant sounds, a nice song, there is nothing to get attached. Similarly, whatever the perception, it can be a smell, it can be even a thought. It can be a thought that gives rise to some good good feeling from that is a perception. That's a mental perception. That mental perception also should not lead to any type of clinging. So this clinging, the word in English, you use the word clinging, but in Pali it is upadana. Now, if you have no attachment to the body, the feelings, the perceptions, that is rupa, vedana, sanya, then you come to this fourth one, that is the sankhara that you said, we are not having any sankhara. So if there is no attachment, if there is no clinging, that means you are not developing sankhara, you are not developing mental formation. By being very thoughtful, by having this mental concentration, you avoid all attachments to the perceptions that you see, hear, taste, etc. Then also you prevent all attachments to your feelings. You are not developing any sankhara. You are not developing any mental formation. The English word mental formation is translated to Pali as sankhara. So you are avoiding sankhara. If you can avoid sankhara, if you can avoid this mental formation, that is, you are prevented attachments. Prevented attachments means you are not. You don't get emotional. You don't have reaction. You have no hatred, no anger, no greediness for attachment. That means you are really preventing all sankharas, which are in English referred to as mental formation. Now, sankhara, as I told you earlier, is a Pali word, but it is something important, and that is why we have to use that term in a discussion like this. So, prevention of sankhara means you have made a major step forward in preventing the rising of vijnana, because according to the doctrine, sankhara pacha vijnana. So vijnana has some sort of a cognizing effect. It is a cognizing, it is knowing. The last brigade of vijnana is really something which has a cognizing. Cognizing is knowing. Vijnana means knowing what is form, knowing what is feeling, knowing what is perception, and knowing what is sankhara. So if sankhara is absent in total, if sankhara is fully prevented, if mental formations are prevented, so you have actually got rid of the vijnana factor, which is really the knowing. It has a cognizing effect on the other four. So cognizing means knowing. So it is possible to get rid of, if it is possible to get rid of all the sankhara, if it is possible to get rid of all the mental formations, vijnana is going to be absent. And that is, now vijnana is the one that is leading to the rebirth. Vijnana is the one that is leading to the next birth. Now, regarding this, now are we really making this positive step gradually, or is it going to be something that we can achieve? Yes, it is possible to achieve, but we have to make progress. Now, as regards the five skandhas or five aggregates of clinging, we are actually talking about getting rid of this entire cycle of birth and rebirth. It is possible, but every step has to be taken to prevent all sankharas of clinging. Now, in this regard, what is important is to verify whether the doctrine is clear about what we discuss. Yes, the doctrine, the entire Tripitaka contains so much of the details, but if we take the Sutra Pitaka has so many sutras that it is not possible to look at all. Dhammapada has summarized all the important concepts, Dhammapada. Now, regarding Sankhara, Dhammapada says, in stanza 154, Dhammapada says, Visankara Gatan Chittam. The Buddha said at the time of his attaining enlightenment, he said, get rid of all the sankhara. Visankara Gatan Chittam. Stanza 154 talks about what should be done. The moment you get rid of sankhara, you are getting rid of clinging. So the five aggregates of clinging will get eliminated, or you really progress in achieving the state where all the clinging, all the karma, that is karma means your actions, mental formations or sankharas are eliminated. And a situation where all mental aggregates or the five mental aggregates, five aggregates of clinging can be eliminated. That is, you get rid of the attachment to your body, which is consisting of all the ugly matters. You know, anybody can realize that once you eat something, within half an hour or within a couple of minutes, all what you consume becomes so ugly, so so repulsive, and actually is something that nobody can really appreciate. So developing this non-attachment to your body is something that you can always understand and appreciate. So the form, the feelings you get, again I'm going over the same items, the feelings, attachment to feelings. You see, present feeling can be a present feeling, but you don't get attached to that. You don't have to be greedy. And when it comes to unpleasant feeling, It is unpleasant, all right, but you don't have to be angry, or you need not develop hatred towards it. Similarly, you are getting linked with various things, that is what you hear, you can see a picture, you can see a person you admire, but if you get a pleasant feeling, you need not get attracted. Then similarly, it can be a present object, which can be something. It can be even some other perception. Can be a smell. Can be a song that you hear. Can be something tasty food. Now, food is one of the most important things where we always we taste. You see so many items of food, you select one. There is no need of, if you have a choice, you take the one that is best for you. You prefer one particular item of food, you take that. You like it. That's common. That's quite normal. But that tasty food should not lead to attachment, greediness. So the whole subject is how we are going to avoid uh, this your clinging. The clinging is the thing that we are preventing. Everything in the world is coming in the form of a feeling, coming in the form of a perception, and when it comes in the form of feeling, as in Bali, what is called sanya and vedana. If all the vedana and sanya, all the feelings and the perceptions are left as they are, good, they are pleasant, unpleasant, should not develop sankhara. So how we avoid developing sankhara means you are avoiding karma, you are avoiding uh, further clinging, you are avoiding mental formations, you are avoiding sankhara. And if sankhara is eliminated, actually you are progressing towards elimination of vijnana, means, and according to the subject of Paticca which is very clear, it is the avoiding of vijnana is actually giving rise to the elimination of the future births. And clinging is considered upadana, and I think people who are familiar with the Paticca Upadana Pachya Bhava. Upadana Pachya Bhava means clinging is not, clinging is the one that is leading to the future births. You prevent clinging, prevent Upadana, means you are preventing further future births. So, actually, in the case of this whole discussion, what we have realized is that there is a problem in the world, there is a major disaster in the form of pandemic, but this is a situation which has given rise to people who are practicing a chance or a particular situation or particular juncture at which we can really take notice of the need to re-evaluate our own practice and do some sort of a change of gears, like you need to move faster. The decision has to be taken to make a progress, and this is like a wake-up call, for people to get on with the practicing in a more serious way. And to do the practicing, you need not look at all the concepts in the doctrine. You can look at the concept of Panchaskandha. Panchaskandha has 5 aggregates, they are referred to as aggregates of clinging. Now, where is this clinging? Clinging is the thing that we are talking about as the problem. Let us get rid of the clinging. There is nothing to cling in your body. There is nothing to cling in your feelings. Feelings are there. Good feelings, pleasant feelings, unpleasant feelings. They are feelings. There is nothing to get attached to. There is nothing to get annoyed about. No need of anger, hatred. No need of attachment. And then coming to the sanya, or what you hear, what you see, objects that you maybe consume as food or whatever, they are all either present or unpresent, good or bad. If there is something present, you just consume it, but there is nothing to get greedy or attached. So all clinging, if the clinging is prevented, that means there is no sankhara, there is no clinging, you are not developing karma, you are not developing any type of uh, opportunity for a future birth. Vijnana will not have anything to cognize. Vijnana has a cognizing thing. And Dhammapada also talks about another thing. Now, when you say sankhara, somebody might ask, now, what about this? Our doing these meritorious deeds. Meritorious deeds. Now, this is a point that everybody might ask. Now, meritorious means you do dana, sila, and bhavana as meritorious deeds. Are they sankhara? Yes, they are sankhara. They are positive sankharas. That is, you are developing, if you are doing dana, if you are developing your mind with bhavana, you are developing your morality with sila, they are all good things. They are what we are called punya, or ping, or wholesome deeds, kusal, the wholesome activities. So the wholesome words, deeds, and actions, they are all positive, wholesome things. But the key is you should not do them and expect something in return. This is a very important point. You do wholesome activities, and if you expect something in return, then only you are developing sankhara. So avoid sankhara by doing all the meritorious deeds and then expect only nibbana. Let me receive whatever that is rising as merits, and let me not expect anything in return. There is no need of continuing in this cycle of birth and death in this human world, or in the maybe in the heavens, maybe in the Brahmalokas. They are not to be expected. The moment you expect something in return, you are really causing a problem to yourself. So sankhara can be eliminated in full by doing all your meritorious deeds without expecting anything in return. So finally, you are not having any sankhara developing, that there is no clinging, there is no karma, and all that is really eliminated, and you really have this what is called clinging or upadan. You are reducing upadan, you are eliminating upadan. And when you say, what is the called upadan paccaya bhava? So it means clinging which is leading to the next birth will not take place. So actually what we can see is that and also another stanza in the Dhammapada, stanza number 39 says, Punya Papa Pahinas, eliminate both wholesome activities and also unwholesome activities. Punya Papa Pahinasa means the wholesome as well as unwholesome ones should be eliminated. So that means you do your wholesome activities, don't expect anything in return, and then you will receive. You are not going to live. You don't expect anything in the next world, in the Brahmaloka or Divyaloka or in Manasaloka. Nothing. You should really be aiming only at Nibbana, which means you are preventing all clingings, all karmas, and all mental formations, and there we are reaching the point of entire elimination of all clingings, which means you are actually reaching a situation where upadana, which leads to birth or clinging that is lead to new birth, will not take place, and it is helping us to get fully liberated from this samsara. And I would also add one more thing, that is the subject of Panchaskanda, the subject of mental, this the five aggregates of clinging is helpful in all Buddhist practitioners, everybody to realize that there is no personality, because the five aggregates of clinging are all separate, and there is no single aggregate where there is a personality. You can see the absence of a personality. This is another new concept, another important concept in the doctrine, which we can really understand or realize through this subject of five aggregates of clinging. There is no possibility of having an unchanged or a personality that we are always thinking of. So getting realizing the absence of a personality is also possible by concentrating or by doing a mental development through the Panchaskanda. So the subject of Panchaskanda, subject of five aggregates of being, is the thing that can be promoted, and also I would say that this is one of the best ways of making progress for the Buddhist practitioners. And also I am stressing the fact that Dhammapada is always there to give us a very, very clear indication of what exactly we should do. It says Punya Papa Pahinasa, which means get rid of all these attachments to even wholesome activities. Visankara Gatan Chittam means get rid of all the sankaras which we discussed now. So I think that
Thank you, Mr. Nidekala. That was very good presentation.
Yeah.
There are time for a few more questions. These days, people are going through a lot of financial difficulties because they have loss of income and there are so many financial issues they are having. So, in that context, they have to prioritize their expenditure. So, it's very important to know what are the wants and what are the needs. Can you advise on that?
Yeah. So there are two very important words that you are using: needs and wants. Now, I believe most people might think that they are the same. No, they are not the same. Need means you have to have certain things. If you are hungry, you have to find food to eat. That's a need. But the moment you finish, the moment you are full, I mean you are not hungry, then thereafter you should not eat more. That even if you have got some very tasty food, that is the need. So you have got the need, but beyond that, you try to eat more, that means you are causing a problem to you. You may be you are causing a problem to your health, and you may be eating too much of eating, or maybe you are eating the wrong food. So you want so many things, but wants means forget about anything beyond your need. Limit yourself to the needs, but you need to have what actually you require. What you require to live this life is the need. And regarding the needs, if there is a problem, there should be a solution to get the something. Sometimes you refer to the needs as basic needs or whatever. It says supposing you have to get a vehicle, so you have to get a vehicle for your transportation. But you need not get the best possible vehicle in the country or best possible vehicle available in the market. There is no need. So there is really, you have to limit yourself to the need. needs are to be looked at. So the authorities, or I believe there may be the authorities in the country which has to look after the people. The needs have to be looked up. Needs are their requirements. But anything beyond that can be something which we should avoid. And that causes a negative effect. Just like overeating causes health problems, over interest, that is beyond what is needed, is also going to cause a reaction. That is you need to always balance at the needs, the point of needs. And if there is a problem relating to needs, then that has to be looked after by the authorities.
Thank you, Ms. Merigala. What we observed during the pandemic, especially the curfew time, right at the beginning, a lot of people found that they were even short of money to buy the food. But some people saw this problem and they spontaneously went out and helped those people in need. They made food parcels, they went and distributed food rations, and it became very spontaneous. And the great thing about it is that there was no caste, creed, or religious bias. They helped who wanted the items, they went and gave the food. It was an amazing act of kindness and compassion on their part. Now, this compassion and kindness is a human trait which is there in every human being and all religions support it. What is the Buddhist view on this kindness and compassion? Mr. Purika?
Yeah. Now, compassion is what in Pali it's called karuna. Compassion is something where you are actually helping somebody in the need. Now, it's not Maitri. Maitri means something that is a loving kindness. But here, the compassion that we are referring to is what is called karuna. And the Buddha actually realized that people need help. People need the help. People are struggling in this world. Now they are suffering. So I must somehow or other do my best to get these people relieved of this suffering. And he again thought of this compassion. His compassion was to get the people relieved of all suffering. So that one in Pali it is called karuna. And people who are always doing this work with that feeling of compassion, it is the feeling that matters. If you have some other motive, if supposing you do something with another motive, then you are actually diluting this act of compassion. So the act of compassion has to be done without any expectation in return. So Buddhist concept of compassion is something important because the Buddha himself attained perfection in compassion and wisdom. So compassion is the most important thing, but compassion does not become compassion if you start expecting something in return, or if you expect something as some ego, or can be something having a different agenda. And if you do everything without expecting anything, that becomes pure compassion, and you are really helping yourself to reach this final goal of liberation.
Thank you, Mr. Merigala. The pandemic seems like a dark cloud. But as you know, every dark cloud has a silver lining. And today, Mr. Merigala, you showed us the silver lining. Even though the pandemic was bad and devastating, there is something for us to do. Something for us Buddhists to look forward to and practice the Dhamma. Much merit to you, Mr. Merigala, for sharing your thoughts with us today. The next Buddhist discussion of the Colombo YMBA would be on the 18th of April at Penang at the Colombo YMBA boardroom. The topic would be Yoniso Manasikara, or right mindfulness. The guest speaker would be Dr. Randula Samarasinghe. We now bring our proceedings to a close and thank you all for participating in this program. May all beings be well and happy.